Live from the Bob Levy Broadcast Center, overlooking the Toms River. It's time to get up, get out, do something. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Be a part of the show. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. It's 7:08, February 17th, 34 degrees, heading up to 44 today. WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 News Talk Radio, streaming live at WOBMAM.com and on the Radio Pup app. 732-505-1160 to join the conversation. Congratulations to Mary in Toms River. 2 tickets to see Cinderella. Not talking about the 80s hair band. Cinderella at the Strand, the end of February, and she gets fed. Great job, Mary. You're a rock star. See what I did there? Rock star, Cinderella. We did it. It all kind of comes together.
You're good.
On the phone with us right now from Southern Ocean Medical Center in Manahawkin, New Jersey, the president of Southern Ocean Medical Center. Good morning, Joe Coyle.
Good morning, Jeremy. Thank you for having me today.
Listen, thank you so much for joining us. We're always excited to talk to folks that have, big jobs like you do, Joe. So that's, I know you're gonna teach us some things. We're gonna laugh. We're gonna cry. It's gonna be a beautiful 45 minutes or so.
Sounds great.
So why don't you start by telling us a little about yourself, how long you've been at Southern Ocean Medical, how you kind of ended up there, how your life has taken you to the apex at Southern Ocean Medical Center.
Well, actually, my background is public accounting. I was a CPA by training and got interested in healthcare as I visited various clients back in the 1980s. Healthcare was changing significantly at that time. And in 1991, I had the opportunity to interview for the chief financial officer position here at what was Southern Ocean County Hospital at the time. And when I came down for the interview, I just sensed opportunity. There was a new hospital president, Steve Littleson, who had just taken over. And I joked with him that, he was only 30 years old as a hospital president. I told him he was hiring me because he needed some adult supervision. So he hired me, and 6 years later, I had the opportunity to become president of the hospital. And I've remained here since. People sometimes say, why haven't you left? And I say that, the job keeps changing, so I haven't had to change jobs. And it's a great community. I live right here in town. Just love it here. I love the organization. So it's a great place to be.
Great. So, Joe, married, kids. What's the home situation like, Joe? Talk to us.
So I've been married to my wife, Pat, for more than 30 years. We grew up in Middlesex County, and we both waited tables at the same restaurant together. We have 3 children, all grown, 2 of them out of the house, thankfully. Our daughter, Kate, is a marketing specialist and lives in Red Bank. Our son, Brian, is a pharmacist who got married last September. Very exciting day, a great milestone in our lives. He and his wife, Carrie, live in Howell. And, it's kind of the epitome of what you work for as a parent is to see your children marry the one person they love and begin their life's journey. And our youngest daughter, Carrie, is still at home. She's going to school. She'd like to be a teacher. So, she keeps us busy on a regular basis. And we're all very close, which is very nice. We'll actually be all together this weekend. We always look forward to that time.
Wow. So Joe, I'm getting from you that you're like a consistency guy, right? I'm gonna tell you how I connected the dots there, right? So CPA number 1, right? So that's a black and white kind of like, the numbers are what the numbers are. That's number 1. Then, you're married for 30 years. Hats off to you there, right? Really love your current job. Been doing that for a while. So all those things that say you're a consistency guy, and yet your career is in one of the most changing and evolving, sectors in the world. How do you reconcile that?
Well, I think, you have a basic skill set, and you have to remember that change is a constant, and try to anticipate as best you can, but recognize that there are a lot of things that are not in your control, and just try to keep up with the the dynamics. Healthcare's changed in so many ways since I got involved, both from a medical clinical standpoint. The technology's advanced tremendously, but also from an economic standpoint, as costs have increased and government and payers have tried to find different ways to rein in costs. It's changed the way healthcare facilities like ours get paid, how physicians get paid, and as a result, we have to develop new business models, and that's exciting. Trying to make sure that your organization is successful, because it really comes down to taking care of the people in our community. And many people have heard me say this over and over again: when you're in a community hospital, the people you take care of are your friends, neighbors, and family members.
Right.
And if they don't deserve the best care, who does? And so you constantly look at what the opportunities are to improve care. And part of that is managing the economics to make sure that the resources are available, hiring the best people, physicians, nurses, and support staff, and just trying to execute as best you can. And so it is, it's a changing industry, and the pace of change today is much greater than I've seen in my career, and a lot of it's driven by the Affordable Care Act. But it's the additional consequences of that, of insurance companies reacting to what's happening in the marketplace and consumers picking their own health insurance today. They have more choice. It's not all just employer-driven anymore. So the dynamics of how insurance gets purchased changes. So your brand becomes much more important. You want to make sure that people understand the quality of the care that you're standing in front of. And so it's a constant dynamic, but it's been a great ride.
Awesome. So, and why don't you tell folks, because I know that you're in a very diverse area as well. I'm sorry, very quickly evolving area of the southern part of Ocean County. So what areas do you guys really focus and service?
We look at 13 municipalities as our primary service area, all of Long Beach Island, the areas from Little Egg Harbor and Tuckerton to the south, Forked River and Winoka Harbor to the north. It's got a year-round population of about 120,000, and obviously in the summer it surges. But we've seen a lot of growth in the time I've been here. The recession certainly slowed things down, and obviously Sandy had an impact. But we're starting to see construction again, younger families moving into the community. So it's it's a growing area. Manahawkin itself has seen a lot of retail growth in the past 10 years or so. As a result, there's more traffic in the area. It's kind of the retail hub of the southern part of the county. So it's changed the dynamic a little bit. And, of course, we have LBI
right
to our east, which is mostly seasonal. And so as a result, our approach to healthcare in the summer is a little bit different. We focus in on our visitors and make sure that our emergency department is up to speed and ready to go with services like fast-track services, because a lot of folks come in simply because they're far away from their primary care physician. They might have an earache or a minor injury. So, we just keep adapting to whatever the community needs.
Cool. So we're with Joe Coyle, president of Southern Ocean Medical Center. When we come back, Joe, I'd like to talk about your new emergency department, because I know that that's 2013. You guys kind of unveiled a whole new thing going on there, and also talk about some of the other changes that the hospital's kind of undertaken in recent years. Joe Coyle, president, Southern Ocean Medical Center. Back after this.
The Sean Hannity Show, this afternoon at 3. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin returns next. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.
720, 34 degrees, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. News Talk Radio, streaming live at WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. I'm sorry, I'm going to try it again. Streaming live at WOBMAM.com and on the Radio Pup app. Sometimes if you go slower, you actually can get the right information out. 732-505-1160 if you want to join the conversation. We have Joe Coyle, president of Southern Ocean Medical Center, on the phone. So, Joe, you were about to talk to us about a new emergency department and some of the other great changes that have taken place at Southern Ocean in recent years, how the community's responded. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the emergency department, it's an interesting story, because here at the hospital, every few years we put a small addition onto what was a very small emergency department. So over the years, we'd add 3 or 4 patient bays, And about 10 years ago or so, we're looking at another addition, maybe about a $3 or $4 million addition onto the emergency department. At that time, we started talking to Meridian Health about becoming part of their health system. And as we got close to the merger, we said, they're a big organization. Why don't we spend $10 million and really try to put a larger growth plan in place? And then right after the merger, John Lloyd, who's president of Meridian, said, we're not going to add on to your emergency department. We're going to completely replace it. And that's what we did. And over the course of time from 2011 to 2013, we did construction right through Sandy, which had an impact on the construction schedule. But the new emergency department's almost 30,000 square feet, over 40 treatment bays. So it's more than double the number of treatment bays as our old emergency department, but 3 times the square footage. So it's got a lot more space, a lot more privacy. It's got dedicated areas for pediatrics, which is about 20% of our business. So we have a board-certified pediatrician who basically is there after school from 3 to 11 and on the weekends. That facility was made possible in part by a grant from Martin Truex Jr., a local NASCAR driver, grew up here in town, used our emergency department when he was a child and has still got family in the area that use it today. We have a fast-track area that is designed for minor injuries. I mentioned earlier about our summer influx. We have it open all year round, but we do have people that simply need to be treated and released, and so we cater to them in the fast-track area. And then we have a dedicated behavioral health unit, which unfortunately is used quite frequently. It could be patients with psychiatric problems, drug or alcohol dependencies, and the behavioral health system in New Jersey and really around the country is inadequate in terms of capacity. So we tend to hold patients here longer than would be ideal, but we have an environment that's a healing environment for them. It's quiet, it's isolated, and it helps them to decompress as they wait for transfers to an appropriate site. And then the 2 main operating emergency department areas are where really the sickest of the people in our community get treated and very often get admitted to the hospital through there. The community response has been tremendous. The facility is beautiful. It's warm and inviting. We've been able to improve our throughput times, the speed at which we can get patients through, whether they're being admitted or discharged. So that's very positive. And we've seen the volumes go up the past few years, both through the emergency department and on the inpatient side as well. Our admissions last year increased 8.5%, which is pretty significant. And it's, I think, because of the growth in some of the services that we have here at the hospital, as well as the reception of the emergency department and the community really starting to grow again after Sandy.
Very cool. So let me ask you a question. You mentioned Martin Truex. Are you a NASCAR fan?
I'm not, but I'm a Martin Truex Jr. fan.
Well, yeah, you're a Martin Truex Jr. fan for obvious reasons. I mean, come on, let's listen. We don't have to spell that one out. But so, have you ever been to a NASCAR race?
I have not.
Wow. And have you I have to know because look. So my background, I had a long career in retail and and other things, and we always used to get gush. Now I don't know if you know what gush is, but that's like when a vendor wants you to sell a lot of their stuff. They give you some of their stuff to try, right? And in this case, it's like, TVs, audio equipment, stuff like that, right? We're not talking about, stuff which is, something different now. But so you're telling me that as the president there of Southern Ocean Medical Center, Marty's not calling you up saying, listen, Joe, what are you doing this weekend? We need you to come out to this race. You'll have a party. It'll be a blast. Bring the kids. Come on.
Actually, our chief of pediatrics, Dr. Blyman, is a good friend of the family, and he does travel and sees Martin Truex. I'm actually I've been a New York Jets season ticket since 1982. So if I took another weekend and traveled to watch NASCAR, I think that my marriage might not have lasted.
Oh, well, the fact that your marriage has lasted through the Jets, I give you credit for that. When we get back, I'd like to talk about the $128 million Meridian investment across 2 counties in the cancer center construction and the project as it pertains to Southern Ocean Medical Center. We are here with Joe Coyle, president, Southern Ocean Medical Center. We'll be back right after the break to talk more.
Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Live from Town Square Towers at the heart of the Jersey Shore. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. Get up, get out, do something. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Welcome back. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. 7:35, 34 degrees. WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Streaming live on Radio Pup and at WOBMAM.com. 732-505-1160 to join the conversation. We have Joe Coyle, president of Southern Ocean Medical Center, on the line with us. Joe, first of all, I do want to also let you know there's a bit of a challenge afoot.
Okay.
And as a Jets fan, I know you're used to having challenges. So, mostly at quarterback or, at running back. But
right.
Yeah. So I would tell you that we interviewed Dean Lynn a few weeks ago, right? President of Ocean Medical. And Dean currently is our leading has the most views of any of our YouTube interviews at 146 views. So he actually called me yesterday and said, "Listen, I just want to let you know I'm fairly certain there's no chance that Joe will get that many views when he comes on and is interviewed with us." So I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know why he called me out of the blue just to say that to me, but I mean he did kind of throw the gauntlet down.
Well, he did just finish viewing himself 120 times. So that's probably why he called in.
Nice. All right. That's it's funny. I was thinking that myself, but I didn't want to go there. So when we left, we kind of teased out that Meridian has a $128 million investment in this huge project, a part of which is a cancer center that is going on your campus. So why don't you talk to us a little about that?
So it's really driven by changes in how cancer care is provided. Historically, patients might need to see a medical oncologist, a surgical oncologist, a radiation oncologist, and each of those physicians would be located in different places. They'd move from one point to another, maybe have appointments 2 weeks apart, while they're under a lot of stress. A lot of folks diagnosed with cancer are older. In our community, we have a lot of retirees. Their families might live an hour north of here, so they're visiting doctors and getting information sporadically and maybe not getting a clear picture of what the treatment plan is. What Meridian is doing is investing in what we call multidisciplinary care centers. And in those care centers, you're going to see each of your physicians, as well as a nurse navigator, a social worker, your nursing support staff, all in one location. So you might see a medical oncologist on one day and see a surgical oncologist the following week. But what's most important is at some point after you're newly diagnosed, you're going to see all of the physicians and support staff together. You can bring your family, spend a couple of hours together, making sure that you're hearing a clear message of what the plan is, make sure you understand what each of the disciplines is going to do and what your expectations are. So in order to facilitate that, Meridian's investing $128 million in each of our campuses, the 5 hospitals in Monmouth and Ocean County, as well as out in Jackson Health Village, where there's a infusion center and radiation facility. And the idea is that these services should be provided as close to home as possible. So rather than building one major center within the 2 counties, each hospital campus will have its own. Here at Southern Ocean, we diagnose more than 400 new cancers each year, and that's really quite a bit for a community our size. And we actually have a chemotherapy infusion center here that's the busiest within Meridian Health, busier than even Jersey Shore, which is our teaching hospital. And that's because our medical cardiologists practice exclusively here, and it allows for extremely good care coordination. So the project at Southern Ocean is $16.5 million.
Wow.
The first phase is going to open at the end of this month. It's a phased project because we're renovating existing space. So we'll be finished with our new infusion center at the end of July. We're expanding from 12 to 20 bays. So it's almost a 2/3 increase in capacity. The facility will be beautiful and warm and open and bright. And then we have our multidisciplinary care center, which is where the physician offices will be and where the families will meet with them. And that'll be opening at the end of May. So those two components together will really advance the care that we provide. We also then will be putting in a new linear accelerator, which is used for radiation therapy. And the linear accelerator exposes tumors to radiation with the idea that the radiation is going to kill the tumor and not kill the surrounding tissue. The technology we're putting in is called TrueBeam. It's a $2.5 million piece of equipment, and it's very focused on getting the radiation to the tumor itself and not damage surrounding tissue. Very often, with older technologies, you could actually potentially do more damage than good. So that radiation therapy center, which is on our campus, will have that new technology the early part of 2017.
Awesome.
So when that all comes together, we'll have the facilities, we'll have the technology. We already have great physicians. We've got 3 medical oncologists. We've got 2 radiation oncologists. We've got a colorectal surgeon, and we're recruiting for thoracic and breast surgery so that patients can get medical oncology, surgical oncology, and radiation oncology all right here at Southern Ocean. And if they needed a higher level of care, we have Jersey Shore as our teaching hospital, and we're affiliated with the Cancer Institute of New Jersey. We're also, as you know, I'm sure, merging with Hackensack University Health Network, and Hackensack University Hospital is probably the premier cancer center in New Jersey. So that's really going to help in terms of care coordination, getting patients enrolled in clinical trials, because we do research here at Southern Ocean. We actually have about 70 patients we enrolled in research trials last year. So cancer is a very important part of what we do, and we're very proud of the care that we provide, but we're really taking it to a different level in 2016 and 17.
Wow, fantastic. So, Joe, first of all, I just want to say you definitely have a way of explaining things that makes it, I think, accessible for folks who use big words, but then you kind of back it up with what they mean. And there's so much. I am so impressed with folks that run hospitals because there's so much to learn and so much happening. It really amazes me that so much can be fit in a brain to kind of be able to disseminate that information, especially for someone whose background is not really. I mean, you don't have a medical background per se. We do have one more segment with you. We are up against a break. When we come back, I would like to ask you, Joe, what is our question that we ask everyone, which is, if you had a magic wand, if you had the ability to just kind of wave your wand and change one thing in the sector, make an impact on one thing, regardless of money, regardless of votes, regardless of anything, what would that be? So think about that. We're going to tease that out. Joe Coyle, President, Southern Ocean Medical Center. Back after this.
Get more Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin at our website, WOBMAM.com. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.
Hey, welcome back. WOBM AM 1160 and 1310, 747. We have one more segment here with Joe Coyle. We got so much to cover, President of Southern Ocean Medical Center. So we're going to have to do this rapid fire style. So, Joe, I do want to ask you. You obviously have a great team there at Southern Ocean, helping to kind of move the ball down the field for you. Anything that you want to kind of call out about them? Anything you're most proud of? Anything that you want to highlight for the listeners?
Well, it is a great team, and we're very much a family in a lot of ways. I think people are committed to patient care. They're committed to education, which is great. Most of our nurses have national certifications. We've got exceptional physicians, and it's a real team approach. Most of our physicians don't practice elsewhere, which really makes for a synergy and a commitment built around compassion for care. It's a great feeling that you have when you're in the hospital. You know that everybody's focused on what's best for the patient, and communication is good, and it creates a great patient experience, and we hear that from our patients every day.
That's awesome. All right, so What about any services that you wanted to highlight? I know you mentioned a number of them already, but some of the kind of the keynote services, the things that really kind of differentiate Southern Ocean from I don't want to say the competition, because we're all out to try and keep a healthy society, especially with the way healthcare is moving. But what's your differentiator?
Well, you have to have services that reflect the needs of the community, and our community tends to be an older community. We have people moving into what I used to refer to as retirement communities, but since I'm old enough to live in one, I call it an active adult community. But folks move in at 55 to 60 years old and hope to play golf the rest of their lives, and all of a sudden, their hips give out. So we have a great orthopedic team here at Southern Ocean. We do a variety of different techniques. We've got specialists in hand surgery, shoulder surgery. Our most recent addition is Dr. Stanley Michael, who's we recruited away from Temple University, where he was teaching fellows for 20 years, and he practices the anterior approach to hip replacement surgery, which is much less invasive. We do a lot of cardiology here. I've got a great team of cardiologists. Oncology is important to us. Again, areas where older adults have the most need. But then, interestingly, we have the second largest bariatric weight loss surgery program in the state. We've got a great team of surgeons, and as a result, we do over 500 cases a year. And that surgery is truly life-changing for people, because a number of people find themselves cured of diabetes,
right,
getting their medications taken away that they've been on for years for chronic disease. So it's life-changing, and when you see the folks who've had the surgery come back for support groups, and we have birthday parties and alumni parties, it really is exciting to see that you can have such a positive impact on people and really change their lives.
Right. So that great. So we only have 1 minute left, and I want you to share what's your magic wand. What would you do? What would you impact in a big way?
If you asked me that a couple of years ago, I would have said get more access to health insurance for people. But because of the Obamacare and the Medicaid expansion, we've seen a lot. So right now, I would say we need to address the behavioral health situation here in New Jersey in particular. I mentioned earlier that we have a behavioral health center in our emergency department. It's often filled to or above capacity. We see so much adolescent behavioral health issues, whether it be psychological, drug abuse. These things are tearing families apart. It's driving up the cost of healthcare tremendously. And I think if we could, as a society, say that we need to really address this, we could make an impact on an awful lot of lives.
Awesome. Great job. Joe, thank you so much for your time this morning. I know you're an incredibly busy guy running a very important organization here in Ocean County. I hope you can join us again in the not-too-distant future. We can maybe get an update on how all of the capital projects are going and how things are ever evolving in healthcare.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Jeremy. It's been a pleasure.
All right, great. Joe Coyle, President, Southern Ocean Medical Center in Manahawkin, back after this.